Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Myself Sumeet. So today I'm going to talk about a very interesting and famous topic. But before starting this video, I want to tell you a few things about my channel. My channel highlights about the origin of English language, English literature, poetry, prose, drama, and everything which is related to English literature. So you can watch my previous videos related to English literature, history of English literature, history of English drama, and founders and fathers of English literature, as well as Renaissance and father of English literature. So today I'm going to talk about literary genre and its second subtopic. And the first subtopic I have explained, and I have also posted video upon that, which is the first subtopic is drama. So the second subtopic in this literary genre is fiction. So now what is fiction? What are the types of fiction? What are the elements of fiction? What are the characteristics of fiction that you all are going to learn in this video? So I urge you all to stay tuned in this video so that you will learn about what are the different types of fiction and what are its key elements. So let's begin. So what is fiction? Now fiction means what? Fiction means it describes events or people which are not real. Means it is imaginary. Now what is imaginary? Take an example. You are having a pencil, and if you draw anything which comes to real, it is a fiction. Means a person who is thinking and he is describing that we can say picture or thing, whichever thing which he draws, which comes to real, that is a fiction. And when it is written and when it is published into a book, that is we can say passed from that author to the reader and throughout the worldwide. So this is just a gist of the fiction. Now what are the what is the main function, or what is the main theme of we can say fiction? Now the main theme or main function of this literary genre fiction is to entertain, or to we can say to entertain people through the short story, novella, or novel. Now these are the three subtypes of fiction wherein people have written short stories, novels, and novella. And now I am going to describe what are the types of fiction. And before that, I am going to tell you about main functions and characteristics of fiction. Now, the characteristics of fiction are social commentary, politics, reflection of human condition, and in-depth character studies, as well as what are the things that characters want us to know from that fiction, from that short story, novel, or novella. And those characters are very developed. Means they portray the thing wherein whichever thing they portray it very well, so that we should not get bored and we should completely read the novel or short story or novella. And the next is they what I can say inner stories, whichever stories which is going on in their mind, they tell us. And those stories or those themes are interlinked to one another. That is why when one reads a novel or short story or anything which is related to fiction, it gives him or her we can say a positive kind of thing which drives him to read the whole novel. And once he or she starts to read that novel or fiction, he thinks that I should know what is going to happen in the next chapter, and what is going to happen in the middle, and what is the conclusion. So these are the things which happens in the novel, and that is the reason people worldwide they write, they publish, and people also read the novels or short stories or novellas. So these are the characteristics. And what are the main functions? Main function is to inspire and inspire the audience, and readers should get we can say involved into the fiction or that story. That is the main function of the literature. Now the next thing is, what are the elements? What are the elements of fiction? There are 8 elements of fiction. First is plot, second is setting, third is character, fourth style, fifth symbol, then point of view, conflict, and themes. So these eight elements are present in each and every novel, novella, short story, and books. Now, what is plot? Plot means the setting or the theme of the novel, or we can say of the fiction. Then in that plot and setting there are major characters. Now in the major characters, which is the most important character is protagonist. He or she tells the story to the readers, and the narrator, or we can say the protagonist, he or she presents a way that is called as the presenting style or narrating style, which is first person point of view, second person point of view, and third person point of view. And in that, the character, the protagonist, which tells, or wherein there are so many symbols which is related to that character besides or behind him or her. And what is the point of view? Suppose you are reading a novel or a short story which starts from take an example, which starts from city and it ends into the rural area or to the countryside. So the point of view and the setting which changes from the beginning, it changes to the end when it concludes the fiction, or when it concludes the story. And in between there is conflicts also. Why there are conflicts or why there are problems in the fiction? Because to get the readers involved into that story, and so that the readers should not go away from the book, from the story, and they should continue reading. So I hope you all have got a slight idea about fiction, its themes, characteristics, and main functions, as well as elements. Now I am going to talk about the main important types of fiction. Now there are 9 to 10 types of fiction. First is fantasy, second is folklore, third is historical, fourth is mystery, fifth is romance, sixth is realistic fiction, seventh is science fiction, eighth is thriller, and finally crime. And there are, at present, there are western, or we can say inspirational kind of fictions also. So these are the types of fiction. Now I am going to talk about first type of fiction, that is fantasy. So in this, so the first type of fiction is fantasy. Now what is fantasy? Fantasy means wherein we imagine the things which are impossible or which cannot be done. I will give you one example, most famous example in the world. Right present, J.K. Rowling has written books which is very world famous, and the title is Harry Potter. So what are the things that is described or portrayed in the Harry Potter? It can't be done into the real life. So this is the first form of fantasy. As well as fantasy also has we can say the things, or the protagonist, wherein he or she tells the story. He tells from the point of view, so that the author, or the we can say the reader, should not get his mind should not get diverted from the theme. So when you see Harry Potter movie, or when you read the books Harry Potter, you will be engrossed into that book, that you can't even imagine how much time you have spent reading that book. Similarly, there is another book, Alice in the Wonderland, then Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, then we can say Hobbit, then Game of Thrones, and so many movies which is based on the, we can say, the fiction, that is fantasy. Now the second important type of fiction is folklore. Now what is folklore? Folklore means a type of stories which is shared, or which is given from one generation to another generation. Take an example, a story which we all have learnt, or which we all have heard from our grandmothers or grandparents. The story is none other than the story related to tortoise and the rabbit. There's a race wherein the tortoise wins the race, and the rabbit loses the race. You all know that. So this type of stories are we can say shared from one generation to another generation. Next is historical. Now what is historical fiction? Now historical fiction means the things which has happened in the history. Take an example of Italy, Rome, or anywhere, any place in the world, any history which has happened. So people have written down about its theme and characters. Now the Rome, in the Rome, what has happened? There's a Colosseum. Now in that Colosseum, during that BC, before Christ era, people used to fight, and the kings and queens and the people used to see the fight. Why? Because they should get entertained, kings as well as the citizens of that land. Now the next is mystery. Now in this mystery fiction, the most important English mystery fiction is Sherlock Holmes, wherein he finds the we can say the killer who kills the protagonist or the major people in the fiction. And the next is romance fiction. Now in the romance fiction, we all know that there are plenty of movies or plenty of books based upon romance fiction. And after that comes the realistic fiction. Now in this realistic fiction, the things which are happening in real, take an example, we can say about earthquakes. There are movies based on earthquakes as well as tsunamis, or we can say the things which has happened due to natural disasters. There are plenty of movies or plenty of books which is written upon the realistic fiction. Then comes the science fiction. So now you all know what is science fiction. There are scientific fiction movies, there are scientific fiction books which are written related to time travel, time machine, and also in the science fiction there are so many movies and so many books wherein people have written about the aliens which come to earth and they destroy, which is a very famous movie, that is Star Wars. And the next is thriller. Now in this thriller fiction, what happens is, from the beginning to the end, the reader gets thrilled, or we can say he is very much curious what is going to happen. That is why this is also one of the most we can say read types of fiction in the world. And finally, the crime. Now crime series is also related to the Sherlock Holmes types of novels. Now this is the last part wherein people, very few people, or we can say people are interested in this kind of fiction, that is crime fiction, wherein there is a crime which happens in the middle of the story, and also there are at times when the crime is also happened in the beginning of the story. So whole fiction which is revolving around that crime, and at last the author tells us about who did the crime or who killed the person, the protagonist. And so these are the 8 to 9 types of we can say fiction. And I have also explained you what is fiction. Fiction means what? The type or the events about the people or about the place which has not happened in reality. So this is about fiction, which is the second type of literary genre in English literature. Don't forget to watch my previous video, that is drama in English literature. I think you all have got a slight idea about fiction, its types, its functions, its characteristics and elements also. So I hope you will share this video with your family and friends as much as possible, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.